Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Every talk has a title, and I just thought of the title of my talk, which is called, and this was the subject line of the email I received, "Speaker Change!" Exclamation point from my colleague Carla. So I wasn't sure whether I wanted to open that. I wasn't sure whether that was a stress stream or an opportunity. I think it's probably both, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to stand here as the president, the current president of the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine, and give you some connect the dots, so to speak, as to where we've come from and where we're going to. So I myself, I'm a family physician. I went into family medicine because I thought that the health of mothers depended on the health of their children and vice versa, and I couldn't quite separate them in medical school, and I was that medical student that ran from the mom to the baby bin and back, and now we've since got them together, right? So that's good. I don't have to run as far anymore. So that's really what drew me to family medicine and maternal child health. I live in the Boston area and have been on the faculty at Brown there. That's where my clinical practice is. I'm also in academic medicine and have used the New York State curriculum in public schools in New York. So it's a privilege to be here with you. So thank you. I can tell you you know what got their attention, the high school students. I'll give you the short version, this is a digression. Michael Jordan was breastfed. So that was, you didn't need to really say anything else, but that's what they wanted to do. So I'm dating the time that I used the curriculum, but yeah, congratulations on that work. And also, as Dr. Lawrence mentioned, I'm the Senior Associate Dean for Clinical Sciences, so I'm in charge of the third and the fourth year of a medical school program which has clinical sites distributed across the United States and the United Kingdom. So we've got 30 sites all over the place. So whether it's for my day job at the American University of the Caribbean, my being a doctor at Brown, or being part of the ABM, I'm kind of all over the place, which is a privilege opportunities that I have. So at ABM, I joined the board in 2008. So I remember the first ever summit, and it's amazing. The reason I remember it is because I had a 2-month-old with me at the time. So I remember the year and will never forget it for that really momentous event. And it's a privilege to stand here in front of two of my personal heroes. I'm sure they're heroes of yours too, but Ruth Lawrence and Cindy Howard. So, yay. When given the opportunity here, I thought, well, I've been on the board for a while. I've worked on the governance committee doing bylaws. I've led the strategic planning committee. And as scintillating as the bylaw revision process was, I thought that perhaps wasn't what I should take my few minutes to update you on. So what I thought I would focus on instead is the strategic plan, because I think it connects the dots in terms of where we've been and where we're going. So I chaired the most recent strategic planning committee, and our strategic plan for ABM is from 2015 to 2020. So we're a few months, if not a year, into our 5-year plan. So I want to just give you a sense of where we as a group decided we were going. And although I drew the line at slides at such short notice, I told Carla I couldn't come up with any of those. Everything that I'm telling you, our strategic plan is on the ABM website. So you can go to www.bfmed.org and look up the strategic plan. So I'm just going to try to give you kind of highlights from that. And if it's not in the strategic plan, here's for Arthur. It's in one of my president's columns, also relatively unedited, that comes out in the journal each month, and 10 issues a year. So that's a tremendous accomplishment. So it's either on the ABM website where the strategic plan is, or it's in one of the president's column, everything that I'm going to say in the next few minutes, okay? So for the strategic plan, what we did was we put together a committee, and I think it's important to understand that the committee was an international committee, and the committee also included new medical students and residents and trainees, and that's a really important concept, that we're creating pipelines and we're building the next generation of physician leaders in breastfeeding medicine. We also worked with a consultant. As good as we all are at strategic planning, and as much as we learned about that in medical school, we thought we should go and use the expertise of of a true consultant, and we're very privileged to work with someone who's worked with us through the last 2 strategic plans. So it's really, we have a family member who also had specific expertise. So that was a very interesting process to work with him again. And then everything that the Strategic Planning Committee did came to the Board of Directors, and there's great representation from the board in this room, so I'll call out a few people for their leadership roles in the process. And what we came up with, I'm just going to give you some of the overviews, and then we have 7 key points that I wanted to tell you about. So the overview, as you well know, that ABM is a worldwide organization of physicians dedicated to the promotion, protection, and support of breastfeeding and human lactation. And the organization's mission is to unite members of the various medical specialties with this common purpose. So, and this one of the things I love about ABM is that we're not just pediatricians or just family physicians or just obstetricians. We're all of the medical specialties united together. And then our overarching goal for this next strategic plan, I'm going to read it to you because we wrestled with this, and I'm going to give you the final version and not the blow by blow that the board wrestled with, which there's some people reminiscing with me right now. But it's really important because where ABM is going and as part of the strategic plan, it's almost twofold. One is to ensure that ABM is the premier global organization for education of all physicians, and I think that really resonates with this day and this summit, and so that's number one, the premier global organization for education of all physicians. We see how big an impact that could have. And a trusted source of authoritative clinical and scientific information to guide professional and societal practices. So those are related, but they're different, and I think where the journal comes in. So we wrestled with this. Are we just the experts in breastfeeding medicine, or are we all physicians, and is our goal global education? And I think that's where we came to as a group. So if that gives you a little sense of the background of ABM. So in the strategic plan, there are 7 priorities, and I'll just list them. And it was accidental, but not really, that ABM at this point in the infrastructure, you knew I could work the bylaws in here somehow, but ABM has 7 key committees. Okay, so ABM has 7 key committees and 7 key committee chairs, and the strategic plan has 7 priorities. And eerily enough, they all kind of line up. So that works out really well for us as we work through a 5-year strategic plan. And the presidency of ABM, Dr. Howard was telling me that her presidency was 1 year long. It's currently a 2-year position. So my presidency started in late 2015 and will go to next year, at which time I'll turn it over to Dr. Tabalik, taking pictures in the back there. So it's a 2-year term as president right now. So his leadership will also be part of this 5-year plan. So there are 7 priorities. So number 1 is to increase the size, diversity, and engagement of ABM membership. So membership is a really key focus. And Isla is here. Isla's a board member, a pediatrician in San Diego, and chair of the esteemed key membership committee. So you want to talk about any membership issues, Isla's your go-to person. We've got 1,000 different strategies under that priority, which I will let Isla regale you with at the reception. So that's a key part of our plan right now. We have around 600 members all, and Carla, do you know how many countries are represented at this point in our membership?
45.
45 countries. So 600 members, 45 countries. Very, very important part of our identity to be a global organization that includes U.S. activities but is not exclusive to activities and also doesn't exclude U.S. activities, so depending on the particular issue. So membership, number 1. Number 2, clinical protocols. So the production, translation, and maintenance of protocols for, you heard from Arthur as the current editor-in-chief of the journal, and that's where our clinical protocols are published. And it's incredibly, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into creating a clinical protocol, from the literature search to the writing to the bibliographies to the publication. And so given that that's one of our signature products, how do we make that easy to do? There are authors, reviewers, protocol committee members sitting in this room. But so the protocols, I think there's general agreement that that's a really important, it's our signature product. Okay, and it links really well with the journal. So membership and protocols are the first two. Priority number 3, a challenge, and even in the 21st century, communication. So we have a whole communications committee, and they tweet and blog and do things that I still haven't learned to do for my teenagers, but developing enriched state-of-the-art tools for internal and external communication. This is the choir right here, right? We're all on the same page, but how do we get these messages out to the rest of the community and population? And what are best strategies for sharing our expertise and having that impact? Priority number 4, certification and education. Education, you heard me say, is a key part of the mission of ABM, and education in general, and as well as exploring the possibility of additional formal training such as fellowships, which Casey can tell you about, or certification processes just being explored. So given that education is one of the overarching, or really the foundational goal of ABM, having a very, very busy education committee. We've got a upcoming conference chair sitting here, and Sahara in the front row. So if you want to hear about planning an ABM conference, you don't even look that tired right now. I know you've got help doing this. So we hold an annual conference as well as regional conferences. So I'm going tomorrow from here to Lisbon, where there are 200 people coming to ABM's regional European conference. So education is a core part of what we do as an organization. The other ones are important, but get a little more just foundational. Number 5. Totally foundational. How do we maintain our internationality, our global identity? And I've got an update for you at the end, because I think there's shared commitment to being a global organization. So we have an international committee that is chaired by Eileen Rao, is a physician in Germany, and she's actually the conference chair for the conference in Lisbon that begins in 24 hours, which I'll get to as soon as I can. Number 6 out of 7, build the financial strength of the academy while maintaining our commitment to the code. And that's more of just a foundational issue of how do we function as an organization and what are our financial priorities. And Cindy Howard is our current chair of our finance committee, so we appreciate your longitudinal expertise and knowledge of the organization. And then finally, priority 7, not glamorous, but critically important, ensure more effective governance and management. So Ann Callums is the chair of our governance committee, lucky Ann, and she and I lived through the bylaws together with the help and expertise of the entire board. So I just wanted to give that very broad overview. ABM has a strategic plan. It's posted on the website. We've got 7 priorities, and our plan is for 5 years. The 7 priorities line up extremely well with our current infrastructure. And so we've got 7 key committee chairs, many of whom are represented here, who are moving these initiatives forward. And I will say that none of this would happen or be anything but a good idea without our management team led by Carla. And you see her team all over the place helping to make this event and all ABM activities possible. So I'll finish then by just giving an update from the Women Deliver conference that Carla and I attended in May. There's some good stories, some of them at my expense, which she's very happy to tell you, which is fine. For those of you who don't know, and I confess I didn't know a lot about Women Deliver, we have folks here who helped plan previous Women Deliver conferences. This was the fourth one. It happens every 3 years, and Women Deliver is the leading global advocacy organization for the health, rights, and well-being of girls and mothers, girls, women, okay? So what a cool idea, right? I mean, it's just amazing. And the current conference, Carla and I just went together to the 4th Women Deliver conference. It was in Copenhagen. It was in May. And the conference this particular time was attended by 6,000 people. So it was a little bit overwhelming, just like the sheer volume of people that were there. But one of the really cool things about it is that 20% of the people there were under age 30. So there was this energy that only teenagers and people in their 20s can conjure up for such sustained period of time. That was amazing. The conference itself was meant to bring together world leaders, policymakers, and young people. So, Carla, I think we were in one of the first two categories. We weren't in the third. But it was really an extraordinary global event. And the reason that I'm telling you about this conference is because this is the first time that breastfeeding has been deliberately, strategically, and systematically on the agenda throughout the conference. A very concerted effort, and just a tangible example of how we, working all together, can move an agenda forward. So ways that we connected breastfeeding into this particular conference and event and organization. We talked about global financial impact. I mean, it's just impossible to argue, and you've heard great evidence already today about the financial and health impact. We also took an angle around workplace and workforce issues, which was very vibrant at this conference. It was incredible to get at breastfeeding through that angle. It is more subset of the financial angle in the workplace. A really easy way to put it in there was as part of the reproductive life cycle. So that we've heard today about, what's normal, what's the normal cycle, and what are people expect to do, and what's going to happen after that. So by making it a part of the reproductive life cycle and connecting it to, so we kept saying women deliver, and then they breastfeed, and it kept being like something we could just sort of sneak in there, and we did it as a team. And the way we did it, just to finish and tell you, it was really magical, and I give Carla a lot of credit here. Lots of other people involved, 1,000 Days, and lots of other folks. So there was a pre-conference workshop, so that was a way to kind of get breastfeeding on the agenda. Then we ran a media session, and at the media session, #invest in breastfeeding, so that's fairly clever. We had UNICEF, the HKI, which is Helen Keller Institute. We had 1,000 Days. We had ABM. We had ILCA, the International Lactation Consultant Association, and we had WABA. And I get the A's and WABA confused, but the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action. Yes. Okay, great. But it was to put the leaders of those 6 organizations together and run a media conference about breastfeeding that was attended by reporters from all over the world, and the different issues in different countries and continents. It was a really powerful event. So that was one on one end. And then on the other hand, we had panel discussions, and there was a young woman from England who's a poet who literally reduced me to tears with her poetry that she read about the empowerment. Like, she wrote a poem the day after her baby was born, and it was like she was like so all empowered, and she was having this joyous experience. And then she read another poem about trying to find a place to breastfeed, like not in a bathroom, with her 6-month-old. And even just the tone of the voice and the poetry that she read was really powerful. So I think we did a really good job kind of going from media to panels to pre-conference workshop to poetry and everything in between. So I'm very glad to come back from Women Deliver and tell you that ABM is on the global map and breastfeeding is on the global map for Women Deliver. And I think, to finish, you'll hear more about this as we go forward, particularly through the Breastfeeding Advocacy Initiative, or BAI, which is an joint initiative between UNICEF and the World Health Organization that all these other leaders who were involved in media were also a part of. So that's a new initiative to look out for, and I think we have great opportunities there.